Hey everybody, it's Greg from parkjourney.com. As you can tell from the title of this video, we have something a little bit different for you today. Something quite unexpected. Something that actually opened my eyes to a lot of different things going on with the Six Flags chain. And some things that I can actually share with you, which I was actually surprised on. So we're just going to get right into it today. This is probably going to be one of our more popular videos just because of the content of it. So make sure you like the video. Any comments, please make sure you put them in the comments. And of course, as always, make sure that you click to subscribe to our channel. We greatly appreciate it. So just kind of to kick this off and kind of how this all came about. Again, yesterday I met with Selim Bassoul and some of his executive team at Six Flags. They were all in Texas. I'm here in California, as you all know. And we had kind of just a virtual kind of get to know you thing, but also some very specific um, things that they shared with me, that they asked me about a lot of different things going on with the park. And as I mentioned, they actually said I could talk about any of it. There was no kind of NDA, no, like you can't talk about this or that. It was all open book, and they actually encouraged me to write about it and to talk about it later on. So I apologize that I didn't get to this yesterday. It was a rather busy day with the job that actually pays me, but it kind of in hindsight, it's probably a good thing because it allowed me to put together my thoughts. I was up at like 3 o'clock in the morning trying to run through all this thing, and I couldn't fall back to sleep for a while. So I have a lot of thoughts. So kind of just as a way of introduction, how this all came about. As you all know, a couple weeks ago, Six Flags, they came out with some new passes. They ended the membership program at 4 parks, and then they came out with some new passes at those parks. And we had a video about it, and I'll go ahead and link to that over here, up there. So I'll go ahead and link to that video if you haven't seen it yet. And some people who did see it, as I found out last week, I got an email from Selim's executive assistant and said that he had actually seen my video and he wanted to talk to me about it. And so the first thing, obviously, I was like, okay, what did I say wrong? Where is my ban coming from? Am I banned from all Six Flags parks? What did I do? So I immediately went back and rewatched my video. And I will say I did have to go back and do a correction video on part of it regarding the skip the line passes for the new passes, but I was like it can't be because of that. So I was very curious about what they wanted to talk to me about, and it was basically they just wanted to get my ideas on a few things at the parks. I will say that I am not the first person they've talked to. They've actually mentioned that they have talked to over 100 guests. I think I might be the first online person that they've talked to, or a blogger. And I think I might be the first person they talked to kind of as a one-on-one. So that was kind of shocking, to be honest with you. So I'm just going to basically start at the beginning and kind of walk through. I've got some notes here that I'm going to refer to, the stuff that what you talked about yesterday. So they basically, like I said, had a list of things they wanted to talk to me about. I had some things I wanted to talk to them about, and then a couple things that I wanted to talk to them about that we didn't get to that I actually followed up, which I'll get to towards the end of this. So the first thing, they brought up was, thanking me for taking the time out. And I obviously thank them for taking the time out as well. That, obviously they saw that, I love the parks, and that, we have a passion for the parks, and really thanking me for, in our video that I linked to up there was, it was more of it wasn't I was not negative about it. I was very fair, and I just broke it down, which is, as you all know, if you've been a fan of our channel for a while, that's kind of what we do. Yes, I had some opinions on it, good and bad, but I kind of broke it down in a fair way. I was fair about it, and that was one thing that they stood out to me that they had mentioned and that's kind of what I do in my day job as well, as I take information and I dissect it and present it in a way that people can understand. And so that's that was that was nice to hear. So the first thing they brought up was parking. They kind of just basically started at the outside of the park, and then kind of we worked our way in. So parking was the first thing that they brought up. As I mentioned, the parking lot at Magic Mountain is a disaster. It's been a disaster for quite a while. Just with the potholes and so for those of you that work at Magic Mountain, I actually didn't mention the employee lot as well and the employee entrance. So, hopefully, they took, and they were taking notes the entire time. Selim was taking notes. He was talking to other people when I had mentioned things, that's a really good idea, things like that. So they were definitely listening and taking notes of what we were talking about. So I was very impressed with that. One thing I didn't mention, and there was every indication that this will not be the last time that we have a meeting. But one thing I did remember at 3 o'clock in the morning when I woke up is that I did not mention the process for the preferred parking. That obviously is not great. So hopefully I'll get a chance to kind of follow up with them on a few of these things. But we'll see. So and then but I said with most of the parks that I visited, St. Louis and Discovery Kingdom, and Great Adventure, and Georgia, parking is fine. It's pretty efficient, and I don't really have a whole lot of issues, in that regard of it. So then we moved over into the entrance to the park, and I did give them kudos for, as far as I'm concerned, having the best security process in of any park chain that I visited since the reopenings in the last few years. I think the touchless security is brilliant. It's super easy. I haven't had one issue at the park, the parks that I visited over the past year, which is, to be fair, it's just Discovery Kingdom and Magic Mountain. But from what I've heard from others, super easy process. Now, as far as like getting in the gate and everything like that, I did mention that, the process has gotten better the last couple of years, without having to use the finger scanner, and things like that. I did see a comment later on in the day, even before when I had just mentioned that I had spoken with them, and, said, somebody had mentioned something about, having it be clear what line you're actually standing in when you are going to the entrance gates. So again, as I mentioned, hopefully this is not the last conversation that I'm going to have with them, and so hopefully I'll be able to bring that up. And I will say, if you have any suggestions or comments that you maybe want them to see, please feel free to put them in the comments, because if they watched the last video, something tells me they'll probably watch this one too. So make sure you put your comments in the comment section. And I did mention that I really did like the member entrance, obviously. That I hope that they do keep some kind of season pass entrance for people moving forward to get into the park. So again, I didn't really have any issues with that. And then we obviously moved into the park, and they really started asking me operational questions about ride lines and things like that. So we'll start there, because there was basically they asked me what I would feel is a reasonable wait for a marquee attraction, and I was honest. I said, if I'm going on a Saturday in the summer, my reasonable expectation is that for the most popular coasters, it's going to be an hour to 2 hour wait. That's it's a summer, it's a Saturday. That's I think I don't think anybody has any reasonable expectation to have a 10 or 15-minute wait for an attraction in the summer on a weekend. I think that's if you have that expectation, it's a very unrealistic expectation. So I said an hour or two. I said, but honestly, the biggest issue that I have, and that I think that many of us have, is you're standing in the same spot for 20 minutes and you're not moving, or you are in line and a train doesn't dispatch for 8 to 10 minutes. The operations are very slow. I think that has a more of an impact than the actual wait time, because if you're constantly moving, even if you're waiting an hour and a half or 2 hours, you're actually going somewhere. So I did bring up the date. I thought that was a more of an issue than the actual length of the wait. It was the manner of which you're waiting and things like that. So then they brought up, again, nothing was off the table. I mean, we'll talk about it. He said, this is, and I'm quoting, "What if we had a single rider line on every coaster?" I was like, yeah, that'd be amazing. You all know that I'm a huge fan of single rider lines. I think that they're something that parks do not utilize enough. You're sending empty seats for some reason. If you have, if you're by yourself or you have a party of two or three and you just want to ride the coasters, I think it's a no-brainer. So I was kind of shocked with that. So yeah, maybe I don't foresee seeing them on every single ride just because I don't think that um, it's feasible on every single ride. But I would imagine that maybe we'll start seeing more single rider lines on bigger attractions. So stay tuned for that. We have it at Magic Mountain here on Viper and on Riddlers. I think are the only two. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them pop up on a few more attractions. So stay tuned for that. So that was kind of an eye-opening thing. One of the other things that they mentioned regarding capacity and throughput on coasters was they had already planned on adding more pouches on the actual coaster. So like on Twisted Colossus, they have a pouch where you can put your phone in and stuff like that. So they definitely are moving more in that direction. He said that they want to actively discourage people from bringing large bags to the park, not just because security and things like that, but it's terrible for capacity, and also you're putting your stuff in a bin and then somebody takes the wrong bag or the wrong phone or whatever it is. So that was a big concern as well for them, and so I think that they are looking at ways to actively change that process as well, because we all know, yes, everybody hated the lockers, but we all know that when they had the lockers, capacity and throughput and operations for the coasters was so much better, because you didn't have people going to the exit site to put their bag and then back, and you're fighting with people getting off the ride, and like Twisted Colossus, you could probably race every single time if you had a mandatory locker. I mean, I'm just putting it out there. Everyone complains that Twisted Colossus, you don't race enough. If they didn't have that process where if they had mandatory lockers and nobody had to go put their stuff on the exit side, you'd probably race every single time. But nobody wants to pay $1. But I'm just saying. So we talked about a lot of things like that, and again, all very encouraging. And I'm just going to look down at my notes here as well. And then a couple of things that they talked about was things like landscaping, that they want to beautify the parks, and that they want to have more shade in the parks. So one of the things I brought up was, a big thing was, yes, they're putting in all these new attractions, but they're removing trees and shade and things, and it's just concrete everywhere. And that's been a big concern for quite a few years at quite a few parks. And he acknowledged that, and that they were actively seeking to switch that. One of the things they did bring up was having lounges, not just for members, but basically, let's say you're there with your teenage kids, or you're a grandparent, and you're just visiting, and you want to enjoy the park, but you're not going to ride X2. Having air conditioned lounges for people to go in and sit while people are experiencing attractions. I think that's a great idea. More benches, more trees, things like that they mentioned. They want to bring that back as well. So they're actively going to start doing that. And then one of the other things they brought up was, as far as the ride wait times, and I said, all the rides have these signs out there that have wait times. They're never accurate. They say 5 minutes and it's 45. And some parks, like again, I've been at Magic Mountain so many times, I can look at a ride line and be like, okay, that's 15 minutes, that's 20 minutes, and I'll be able to wait. So one thing they did bring up is that they are in the process of enhancing that technology to have more accurate wait times. It's going to take a while. He did say, it is going to take a while, but it's going to be like a year or so to be on the app. But one thing they are hoping to bring, and he did mention specifically before spring break, is digital wait boards at the parks that are accurate, and more accurate than what we have now. And I said that would be a great thing, because not only is that something that's been needed for a while, but it shows people that they are actually taking these things into consideration and improving the guest experience. And that was really my biggest point of all of it is, yes, you can get rid of the membership program and you can do these new passes, But if you're not improving the guest experience, then you've lost everybody. So as long as people are actually seeing the improvements going on at the park and that, hey, this is new, this is chain wide, this is a great enhancement, digital wakeboards throughout the park. That's something, yeah, it's not a small thing, but something that I think people would really like, and it would be a noticeable enhancement and a noticeable change that people would appreciate. So, yeah, so maybe we'll start seeing. I'm hoping that we'll start seeing those digital wakeboards at the parks, within the next couple of months. He said before spring break, so we'll see. Um, and then we got into things like the food. I mean, they straight up asked me, "Do you eat at the park?" And I was like, "Nope." I very rarely, Holiday in the Park will eat because they have the Holiday in the Park stuff. A couple of years ago, they did the July 4th Fest. They had a lot of really great stuff there. They've had Fright Fest stuff, food over the past couple of years. We'll enjoy that. So he said that, that's something they're actively looking at. They've actually brought in two like renowned chefs. One of them, they gave me the name Peter Cooper. I Googled him and he's like some restaurateur and some big time chef. They brought in these people and he basically said more than once, they want to have the best burger, the best pizza, the best salad, everything in the park. They want to have more coffee lounges, things like that. So I was encouraged by that. One thing they also mentioned is they want to have more food festivals. And I think that's a great thing. I think that parks have proven that those can be successful because you get people that may not be there for the attractions, but you're there to experience new food and drinks and things like that. So I think that's a good thing. Something that takes some time, obviously, but they've also got to convince people that it's not Six Flags food. I mean, again, I'm just going to be blunt about it. So, it's definitely going to be an uphill battle with some of these things. But I do encourage you all, if they do things, support them, and we'll get more of it. And that's really the key thing there. Basically, their overall thing was, to make Six Flags better. And then one other thing about attractions that I did want to mention that they brought up was Justice League. And they asked me, what I thought about Justice League. And I said, I really enjoy the ride. I think it's great, but, it's due for a $5 million, software upgrade right now. And they admitted to me that, ridership is not very high on those Justice League attractions. And I said, honestly, I don't ride it very often because I know that even if there's nobody in line, I have to sit through two rather long pre-shows, and it's going to take 20 to 25 minutes out of my day, even if there's no line. I said, get rid of the pre-shows. Like, people still have to walk through them, make that part of the queue, and get rid of the pre-shows. I said, I think that would, and make people aware that you're doing this. Don't just make these changes and don't let people, know that you're making these changes. So, and he basically looked at somebody that had a laptop and maybe an operations director, I didn't catch his name, and said, yeah, write that down because that's a good idea. Because again, you've done the Justice League pre-shows. They're long. They're not great. But they're part of the ride and that's great. But if there's no line, I'm still not going to wait in it because that's still, like I said, 20 to 25, maybe even 30 minutes out of my day. Just for the pre-shows. So hopefully that'll be a change. And if they do make that change, I do encourage you to ride Justice League because we'd love to see that software upgrade to the rides and then have a longer life at the park. So take that for what you will. But we'll see if those changes start happening as well. But overall, a very positive experience. I did bring up later in the day as well. I had emailed them back, thanking them for having me, and did bring up something that I forgot about that I wanted to mention, which is Six Flags social media, which is not, they don't have a whole lot of social media presence, and even things like here's the park hours, for today, or hey, X2 is going to open up, 30 minutes late, just letting everybody know. Or, King of the Cause down for the day, or it's going to open at 2:00, or, whatever it is. I think that's something that they could easily do. In addition to that, things like, backstage, pictures and video of construction going on. Like Jeffrey at Six Flags Fiesta Texas does a great job of sharing construction updates and timelines for the new dive coaster. But he's, they're sharing it on, coaster enthusiast groups, but they're not, but not on their actual social media. So it's like, why are you not, you have the access, you have the exclusive looks at these things. Why are you not using that? And then another thing I had brought up is, maybe doing like an official like Six Flags podcast or vlog, where you're going out and you're interviewing people in the park. So, they want to do these things. They want to put in these digital boards. They want to do new landscaping. Talk to the landscapers. Hey, this is what we're doing at Six Flags, Fiesta, Texas. This is what we're doing at Six Flags St. Louis. These are the enhancements we're making. Hey, we got this new burger at Six Flags New England, and come check it out. And it was designed by Peter Cooper, and check it out. It's a new Angus burger, and this is what it looks like, and this is what it tastes like. Like, come out and check it out. Like, here's how we cook it. Here's how we prepare it. I know people would watch it, and they're not using social media to its full extent. So that was another thing that I had brought up, and I actually their director of communications already followed up with me and want to have a follow-up meeting just about that part of it. So there might be a second video coming hopefully in the next couple of days on that. So yeah, again, their big key was, and again I have it written down here, is to make Six Flags better. And the last thing that I mentioned to them was, I think, probably the most important thing, and that is that they have to follow up on this. Because we've all heard this stuff before. Those of us that have been fans for a long time, we had, Time Warner and Premiere and all these different companies that have owned the parks. We've had CEOs come and go. They all have different priorities. Like the former CEO, they were just like, well, we need to get as many people in the park as possible. And again, let's be honest, the memberships they're giving the park away, and they can't do that. If we want all these things to happen, if we want the parks to get better and, get new paint and landscaping and new coasters, they can't. The membership program was unsustainable. We have to be honest with it. If we want the parks to get better, we can't be paying pennies a day to go to the parks. It's not feasible for them. So again, as I mentioned in the previous video, this was a necessary correction. But again, they have to follow through. And I think that's the biggest thing for me. And I think a lot of us as well as, if you're making all these changes and you're changing the program and things like that, that's fine. But we need to see results. And, I did get the feeling that they kind of feel like this is their chance to really make their mark on Six Flags. And hopefully, make it a brand that's going to stick around for a while. I don't want to say it's, the last go of Six Flags. I don't know if I want to go that far, but, this chain has been through so many changes over the last, couple of decades. So I really think that, they want the brand to survive. And, hopefully Selim has brought in a really good team. I mean, there was investor relations on the call, things like that as well. So I really think, they want it to be about, a value, and it's still a value, even the new pass prices, they're still, for what you get. And again, if they start making these changes, it's going to be even more of a value. So hopefully they will follow through. As I mentioned, I don't think that this is going to be the last time I talk with them. I'm hoping that this will be an ongoing conversation with them. I left very encouraged. It was not, I didn't know what to expect, to be honest, but I did leave the call very encouraged at the end of the day, for the future of the chain. So hopefully this means good things for the park. And if it's not, us, we'll if all these things don't start happening, that they talked about, then, we'll say it. That's what we've always done. We've always, been blunt and been honest about it, but in a fair way. And again, I think that's why they decided to talk with me about it, because we always try to be fair about these things. So hopefully you enjoyed. Like I said, hopefully we'll have some more follow-up videos on this. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown of a rather unexpected call and event for us. It was a treat, to be honest with you. I really enjoyed speaking with them, and I hope to be able to do it again. So thanks for watching, and take care, and we'll talk to you soon.